Hi, Kristen. How you doing?
You know, living the dream over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about Aries season today, and we have our intern Nick with us today. This is very exciting.
So exciting. And I would like to ask you, since we have you here in real life, IRL, as the kids say, what do you want your title to be? Because it's a podcast community thing where I know of a few podcasters who Jason and Travis actually refer to their guy as intern Brandon, where he's actually a massively successful producer and like is a professional guy, but they call him an intern to be funny and fuck with him.
Right.
And then Kelsey, she calls her woman Queen.
I was just thinking.
Queen something?
Some sort of king reference.
Queen Amanda. I can't remember her first name because she also recognizes that she does all the work. And so, although you actually legit are an intern, I don't like that title.
What are you trying to make him?
I want to make him like bigger than that. What do you want your title to be?
About Super Nick. She wants something bigger, Nick.
Super Nick. Or Mighty Nick, like Mighty Mouse.
Good God.
Here he comes to save the day. Mighty Nick is on the way. No?
He's too young for Mighty Mouse.
Well, we were too young for fucking Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse, I think, was on the air in the 60s.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Do you even have any reference to Mighty Mouse? Do you know what we're talking about? What year were you born? Holy fuckballs. 2002. Oh, man.
He is way closer in age to our daughters than he is to us.
Oh, man. 2002. Okay, so I wasn't watching cartoons in 2002 or 2003. I'm trying to... What was a cartoon that you watched? Not when you were a baby.
Well,
did you watch...
SpongeBob? No, SpongeBob is like... I mean, Evie watched SpongeBob.
I feel like
and
SpongeBob
that was like
is
on the
for
tail end of SpongeBob.
mature audiences.
What?
No?
No. How old were you when you watched SpongeBob, Nick?
And you're the youngest, right? Second youngest, okay. What about...
Sponge Nick. No.
It almost sounds like Spotnik. Space reference.
Yeah.
Did you know that the moon is not a planet? Yeah, we
hell.
already discussed this actually on our meeting. Nick did not know that this episode was going to be all about him.
Who? Spotnik over there?
Spotnik. Spotnik, the extraordinary.
Just be
I mean, that
Spotnik.
might put too much pressure on you. You have to think of something, Nick, to go along with it. Have a think on that. As we move into Aries season, the first, starting it up again, the first.
Right. Aries season is the first sign of the zodiac. So since we have Nick with us today, we are also recording video. This is exciting. This is the first podcast that's going to have a YouTube presence. Not the full
Video. YouTube presence. Yeah.
Yeah. Not the full episode, but we are going to be doing mystic highlights with like 10-minute episodes for you guys on YouTube.
Correct.
So we're using my phone as one of the cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put my notes that I usually use on my phone over to here, and I found a note that I want to share with you. That's on this phone.
Oh, bless. Well, first of all, this is a child's phone.
I know. That's why I want to share it with you. From June 12th, 23. Evie. I love Evie, and I love playing with her, and being her friend is like being on a rainbow. And I am extremely grateful for her and everything she's done for me. 1,000,000 heart rainbow flower emojis. Signed, Emmeline. This is like the most magical thing for me to just randomly
you were just
find.
supposed to find that.
I know.
Aw, because that's not even her phone.
It's on here.
It's Graham's phone. Well, it's my old phone.
There you go.
Oh, that's so good.
Should we welcome everybody?
Let's do that.
Welcome to Two Mystic Mamas.
Still was cracking up listening to our 1-year celebration where we were just like, "Brr." I mean, it was like we could not get it together.
Oh, to say
to welcome
the intro.
everybody.
I know.
What the hell?
I don't know.
It was pretty good, actually.
We're not reading each other's signals at all.
Well, we have those days.
Yep.
Yeah, good days, bad days, weird days, and all the days.
Thank you for that
Days,
very astute
days,
observation.
And more days. Okay. So when we started the Zodiac series back in Scorpio season, I think the thing that I love the most about doing every single sign is just the learning process. For me, anyways, because I am learning so much about each of the signs. And I always think when I'm learning, one of the ways that helps me to retain is to keep things like really simple. So just like the other day, I learned that, the moon is not a planet, it's a satellite, and that was good. I have come to the realization that there are 12 months in a year and there are 12 zodiac signs. Like that is easy for me to reference that it changes once a month.
This is a new, legitimately, this is a new observation.
I was like, oh, well, maybe it was just like that reference, like that frame of reference of like bringing things together where I was like, oh, that helps me to keep track. And then the equinoxes also have helped me to realize that that's right around when the zodiacs always shift because I'm also a cusp.
Right.
So I've just been like making these mental connections where I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Let me blow your mind for half a second that there's actually 13 zodiac signs, but it's not included in the Gregorian calendar that we use.
Oh, probably because it fucked it all up. They're probably like, you know what, that 13, it's got to go.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a 13th zodiac, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it also makes me think, though, about the night sky. And when you pull up one of those apps, right, and you're like looking at the stars that make up the zodiacs, there's a lot more in the sky. So what are those other fucking things?
What do you mean?
Like the celestial clusters, like the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, Orion's belt.
Those are constellations.
Right. So where do they all fit into the whole
thing?
They're
stars. They're clusters of stars.
Right. That's what I know. But I'm just saying, like, they all probably have a story and a history and a meaning. And
yes,
there's so much. There's so much in the night sky. Too much. It's too much in the night sky.
Oh, see, I should have known the name of the 13th sign because my daughter talks about this because she's like, oh, I'm actually born in the 13th zodiac. And I don't think that this pronunciation is correct, but she calls it a physicus. I don't think that that's actually how you pronounce it, but it is the 13th or forgotten constellation of the zodiac. It's just not used in Western astrology.
Well, I feel like we should do something this coming round.
Yeah, and it's depicted as a man holding a snake.
Oh.
It comes from the Greek word, which means serpent bearer.
Is it a masculine? Well, we'll have to get into it later.
So basically, the zodiac was created like 2,500 years ago, and it was one zodiac sign for each of the 12 lunar months that, were used at that point. Because really, what we do here and like how we look at astrology is more based on seasons than it is anything else. More than constellations. But it does beg the question, like, and I thought about this too whenever I went to Jenny D's astrology group. There's just so much to learn and so much that we do not take into account.
Yeah.
And just like when you think about, oh, what zodiac sign are you, right? You only think about the sun sign typically.
Yes.
But your moon and your rising and like everything can have really important placements.
Totally.
In your natal chart. So for those of you who are new, that is where all of these stars, planets, constellations were whenever you were born.
Yes.
At that specific time and location.
Correct. Because they always are shifting and moving because the Earth is rotating, as are all of the other planets. And so it all has a direct connection to each other and pull but there's movement happening all the time. And so it is critical that if you start this journey, start with your birth chart and then move, because that will move with it. And then that will give you an idea of what makes you you, what makes you uniquely you.
You can get your birth chart for free on astro.com too.
Yeah. Just make sure you get your time right. I'm a 1313, 1:13 p.m.
I'm a PM as well. But I'm a night chart.
All right.
I didn't know that was a different thing either. Jenny D taught me that difference in day charts and night charts.
Oh, interesting.
And you can actually see it on the natal chart.
Fascinating.
Yeah, they use different colors for the different symbols.
Yeah. Well, I reference, when she was on at the beginning of 2025. So if you guys missed that, we did have an awesome astrologer on, and she talks about the forecast for 2025 as a collective and hits on some of these. And we talk about Aries season. And this Aries season is going to be pretty fucking spicy.
Well, I mean, I think Aries season in general is pretty spicy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a fire sign. There's a lot going on. It's the cardinal fire sign too, which I just realized that out of all 4 elements, earth, air, water, and fire, there's a cardinal zodiac that basically rules that sign or that element.
That element, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and really with Aries being a cardinal sign, it's about taking initiative and taking the lead.
Mm-hmm. And it's the number 1. It's the beginning of. So it's the start of all the things. The head rules Aries as far as the body's concerned. Where your ego also lives is in your head. Like there's so much symbolism and connection when I was doing Aries. I was like, oh.
Did you look up where it is in your birth chart?
I did not.
I challenge you to do that.
I know.
Yeah, I did. I don't have any significant Aries placements in my chart, but it does follow my 3rd house. And so I did make some notes about that because the 3rd house is associated with like your mind and thinking and how we communicate and our social activities and our interests. So when you have Aries in the 3rd house, that really like represents that like direct, open kind of communication, that like expressing yourself and really being proactive. That's like a big thing with Aries, is they're like known for being proactive. So when it's in your 3rd house, like it is for me, I'm more proactive about my like communication or, my activities and interests and stuff like that. So what I was reading about it though, is it makes me more open to change and adaptable, which I found really interesting just because of where it falls in the placement. But the other side of this is it makes me like restless in my like thirst for like practical knowledge and wisdom and experience, which, has its downfalls as well. Because it's about, for me, if I'm harnessing this energy, where it falls in my natal chart is about not rushing through the learning experience.
Right. And Aries energy lends itself to that go, go, go.
Right.
Impulse, must do, don't worry about the details, just go. And I do think that there's a balance there. And, based on what Jenny had said earlier, that this particular Aries season, it's like, start whatever it is, start the project, start the initiatives, embrace that energy, and also heed that energy with experience, making sure that impulses are limited or controlled, right? Like you can have an impulse if you have experience to know what's going to be the outcome of. You know what I mean? Maybe I need to put like an example behind that or something. Yeah. Oh, I'm terrible at thinking of examples on the go. If you are doing something, like maybe you're starting a workout again, and you kind of know what you're catered towards, like what speaks to you as far as exercise, what your limitations are, then go full speed ahead, do that because you know what the outcome's going to be because you've done it in the past. Like, what that, like whatever that is. Like for me, that would be, yoga or Pilates or starting a serious walking exercise. Like I know that I would be capable of doing that. I'm not going to be injured, that sort of thing. Like you kind of know your body's limitations.
Okay.
But if you're starting something brand new, like you've never done it before, like training for a marathon or, swimming and you've never swam, like do that, but heed that as well. Don't go full gung ho into it.
Right.
I don't know if that's a great example, but that's the first one that came to my brain.
I think for me, the message here for this season is balancing patience with persistence. And what does that look like as someone who is trying to actively listen to her body and still living this like very overproductive life?
Mm-hmm.
Learning. We listen and we do not judge.
Well, the other thing that I think is interesting with Aries is a lot of it is like this self-initiating, like you have your goals in mind. And so you initiate and you do, just your, I said do. That's been coming up so much lately.
Because you have children.
No, not like people saying do. Like I just said it the other day to somebody. I was like, you said do. like I'm a child. But integrating others into your plan, leaning on your village. I think Aries in general, if it's your rising sign, they tend to be loners and they tend to do things by themselves because they're capable of doing it. And so again, even if you don't have Aries as your sun, moon, and rising, you can still, this is the energy of, this is the season that we are going into. So I'm a Libra, Scorpio cusp rising. And so for me, when I was reading about this, I was like, I have a lot of independence when it comes to doing projects, but I've also gotten to the point where I like working with others and others being experts at whatever they're experts at and leaning into that and saying, can you help me? And not feeling like I have to reciprocate, right? Because people have the law of free will. They can say, I can't help you. Or, yeah, I'd love to help you. A lot of times people are so willing to help. And it's just, they don't get asked because we get in our own minds of, well, I don't want to inconvenience. I don't want to put somebody out. But at the same time, what if you have a person that's looking for that connection, looking for that human interaction, and this is a great opportunity, and you ask and they're like, yeah, I would love to do that. Like you have to kind of let the magic happen. So I think that also coincides really well with Aries. The Aries season is start these projects, do the thing, put the energy into it, but also look for opportunities to ask other people to help and get other people involved and don't have to feel the need to do everything by yourself. It kind of made me think of how like you've been so good about going to the gym and moving your body for yourself, but that you also do that with a friend and that you've made that, that connection.
Yeah.
And I think that is great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It is nice to go to the gym with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wrote down that you should push others around you to do more and start something new. So if, this is a great time that
don't smother.
Don't smother. But sometimes people need a little initiative. Well, I'm going to use you again as an example because why not? And even though this conversation didn't happen in Aries season, I think it's a great example. Kristen is an incredible creative writer. She has the ability to put words on paper and you as the reader on the other side read them and you're engaged and you're inspired and it brings on all the feels. And that's a gift. I'm sure we've all read books where we're just like, wow, I can't wait to read the next book, right? People who are writers and storytellers and have a way with words, what a blessing. And so I was really encouraging Kristen to get back into that and to focus energy there. And not that she didn't know that. She knew that. She does it as an outlet, a creative expression. But you did come back and say, thank you for giving me that push that, and sometimes I think it's important as when you have really close friends and relationships with people that you do push them from time to time. And it's not a physical push. It's more like, hey, have you thought about putting energy into XYZ because you're really fucking talented? You should do that.
Well, and I really appreciated you having that conversation with me because it's been something that I've always done in terms of writing. And I don't know that I've never seen it through, but I've never put the intention behind it becoming something more than what it is right now, which is an outlet. But our conversation did inspire me to do that. So,
and who knows where it's going to go?
Right. So I've reached out, put out some feelers and started writing something completely different. So we'll see. I don't know where it's going to go. Right now, I'm winging it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, but it's an art that you're very good at that the world needs.
Thanks.
And so I think just if you're listening to this part of the podcast and you have a friend, especially if you have a friend that is a cardinal sign, this Aries season is going to be very gifting to the cardinal signs. So that would be Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So if you have a good friend in one of those signs, and you know that they have a talent that maybe they haven't been exercising and putting forth, or they're scared, or they're intimidated, or whatever the case may be, give them an encouraging nudge to say, hey, you should put this out into the world, because we need all of the fucking art out in this world right now, in this climate, in this collective.
I know.
We need it all.
We do.
Bring it. So,
yeah. I mean, everything that Rachael said, like tapping into that go-getter energy that Aries is so great at, and just setting some new intentions for yourself and seeing where it leads. Now, I thought something else that was really interesting. We talked about this on a previous podcast where Rachael had journals that she wanted to release and burn at some point. And I had made my notes, and then I got this message from you that you had done it, right? With this video.
A big one. I had found a massive journal that, yeah.
And so I had made notes about, like, when you want to harness this fire energy, doing candle spells, doing burning rituals, like these are all really good ways to tap into that Aries energy. And boom, boom, here you are doing it. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. I mean, basically, I had these journals from my 20s when I was, I would say, not really in touch with like my inner self. There were a lot of impulses that I would act on, and then I would feel shame for acting on them, drinking too much, having sex, just making bad decisions, or what one might perceive as bad decisions. And then I would write in my journal about them. And it was interesting how I used to write. I wrote a lot about my appearance, my weight specifically. I was living in France for this one particular in this journal. And hi, living in France, the food is fucking incredible. It's amazing. And all I would do is say, my ass is getting big. I'm eating carbs all the time. I never wrote in a positive light. And it was the same with my relationships with my friends. I would always write about what one of them was doing to piss me off. Like, it was just really interesting looking at how I would write. And like, I just write so differently now. Now I write from a place of, this is how I feel. These are the details of what happened. I just write so incredibly different than how I wrote before. And I was so hard on myself. And I read the whole journal again, most of it. And then it got to the point where I was like, yeah, I don't want this. I don't want these words to define who I am, because that version of me is no longer in existence.
This is such a good example of how you can literally change your life anytime you want to. You have completely changed how you speak to yourself now. And that's evident in how you journal now versus how you journaled in your 20s. And for me, if we go back to what we talked about in the beginning of this episode, the takeaway is that you've passed that on to your kids, because your daughter is writing notes about how much she loves her friend.
I know, that's so true. And how grateful she was.
Right.
I didn't use the word, I wasn't using vocabulary in these journals in my 20s when I was like having these moments that shaped who I was. When I lived in France, that shaped who I became.
Right.
That environment, those people, the culture, the architecture, the energy of where I lived shaped who I became. And when I read this journal, I didn't fucking capture any of that.
Right.
I ridiculed myself. I shamed myself. All I wrote about was everything that I had, quote unquote, fucked up. How I didn't learn French fast enough. Like I had so much sorrow for that version of Rachael, but also gratitude that now I can look at that and I can say that I was living my life in maybe some would say in an unhealthy way, but it shaped who I became. And so I'm grateful for that time, but I don't want to have those words on paper for that girl.
So if you were going to go back now as today's Rachael and write about your experience living in France, what would it look like?
I would write about the details. I would write about the layout of the bedroom that I had at this woman's flat and how every morning I would open my windows, these giant, like not floor to ceiling, but like pretty much close to it. And I would open these old shutters out to let the light in. And I would be looking out over, now the word's going to escape me, but Paul Cézanne was the artist that captured the mountain that's right in Provence. Now I can't remember it, right in Aix-en-Provence. And how I would have that view. I didn't draw. I didn't, paint. I didn't capture any of the amazing things that I saw, and about how I would walk to school because we walked everywhere. And I actually lost weight. That was the ironic thing. All I did was write about how I was eating all of these carbs and my ass was getting bigger. But in reality, I lost weight. My body shape completely changed because I walked everywhere. I would write about the food and how incredible it was. Like I just would write about the beauty of, and whether it be having sex with a boy that I had class with and going into more detail about that. I never wrote about the people in like detail.
Right.
I just used their names. Like I was going to fucking remember anything about them 25 years later. I was like, there was one guy I wrote about a lot and I'm like, I have absolutely no memory of him.
Isn't that funny?
Like, I wish I had a picture. Maybe that would jog my memory.
I have memories of people that I can remember very detailed things about them and their importance in my life in that time of my life, but I can't remember their names. Mm-hmm. Does that happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I asked you to draw a sketch of that mountain, would you be able to?
I would.
You can see it in your mind's eye. Mm-hmm. That's my challenge for you this Aries season, is to rewrite.
Yeah.
Flip the script and rewrite in a different way and just draw that view that you would see every time you would open those shutters.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's such a good exercise.
That to yourself.
Yeah. Such a good exercise. So yeah, I did. I burned that bitch. Bye-bye now.
Man, your 20s are a wild time.
I mean, really.
I mean, look at Nick over here sitting in a she shed in the middle of Washington County. Listen to us talk. You probably didn't know that this was on your 2025 bingo card, did you? I did make some notes about crystals that pertain to Aries.
Okay.
To harness the energy, as well as tarot cards. So a lot of times people use tarot cards to do a spread, to tell us something, right? They're looking to find an answer to something. But also tarot cards can be used in manifestation to help amplify the power of something. So,
okay.
So if you were going to create an altar to harness the energy of the Aries season, you could use the Emperor card to help with leadership and structure if there's something that you're trying to take initiative on.
So if I'm understanding you, correctly, with your tarot deck, you would go through and actually pull these specific cards out.
Correct. And then you would put it on your altar.
Okay.
And you can, help amplify the energy then of the manifestation or the intention that you're setting.
Okay.
Another card that I would use would be the Tower. Now, the Tower is one of those things that it can look like a really negative card when you look at the card and the imagery. But really, this is a card to use for like sudden change and transformation.
Okay.
Now, we all know sudden change and transformation comes often with the death of something, right? Is why you see the Tower and the Death cards so closely together in the major arcana of the tarot deck, right? There's a story within that major arcana. And I think we should do an episode at some point on that story because it's really very interesting and it's like the fool's journey, right? But when you are trying to create something new, old structures have to crumble in order for you to build new structures.
Correct.
And the Emperor gives you that stability, that foundation, that leadership to move forward. And the Tower is giving you amplified power to help you make that transformation in your life. So that's two that I would use if you're going to use tarot cards. Also, Aries is ruled by Mars.
Correct.
So having, a depiction of Mars on your altar would be good. Some of the crystals, obviously, they're going to be red, but like red carnelian for confidence, red jasper for grounding, and then you can use bloodstone. And then
what was the bloodstone?
A bloodstone you could use for courage.
Oh, yeah. Courage is definitely associated with Aries.
I have a lion.
I was going to say the cowardly lion.
Right, but I have a lion that sits on my altar. Right above my altar, I have this like gold shelf.
Yes.
Have you seen him?
Yes.
The meditating lion?
Yes.
So I went to the store one day and I saw it and I took a picture and I sent it to Charlie and Evie and I was like, oh my God, look at this meditating lion. He's so cool. And I came home and they were like, why didn't you buy it? You know me, not good at spending money on myself.
Yes.
So I did go back and buy the lion though, because they nudged me. They pushed me.
Yes.
And he lives up there and he holds a piece of dried lavender from my garden. And he always reminds me to have courage. And I love him.
I heard something the other day and now I can't remember where I heard it, but it was about what the characters in The Wizard of Oz actually symbolize.
Oh, there's like all sorts of crazy stuff about The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. And the cowardly lion in this particular story or explanation had to do with our government in our country, which I don't want to talk about that at all. But I thought it was so interesting how the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz could not be farther from the truth of what a lion actually possesses in the wild.
Right. and the lion is not associated with Aries. It's actually the symbol is the ram.
Yes, but the courage.
But the courage part
is what comes with it, right? The ram. That was my maiden initials.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was
Rachael and Mar.
Ram.
Now I'm just
another Super Troopers reference on this podcast.
There you go. Now I'm just rad.
You are rad.
I'm super rad. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Evie's an emergency alert system, so
that's hilarious.
I read something. So I had Reiki done a couple of years ago virtually with someone who was recommended by a friend. And this Reiki master's name is Kim. I believe the name of her business might be Spirit Garden. She's in Rochester. She's not necessarily super close.
Yep.
And it was great. It was a great session. And she asked me if I wanted to be a part of this weekly text message that she sends out. And I get them every Wednesday, and they are fabulous. She always includes a photo of
You've shared them with me.
I have.
Yeah.
There's one part of her message that I received today that I wanted to share because it reminded me of Aries season.
Okay.
Let me pull up my thing so I can see it here. When you choose work over family, you announce the significance of their importance. Oh God, I can't even read this because I fucking wrote it wrong.
User error.
User error, you guys. I'm just going to read the end of it. Maybe I'll get this part right.
Okay.
All right. I just butchered all of this for her. If something is important to you, make it so. Don't make excuses. Live so that your actions demonstrate loudly to the world, this is valuable to me. And the rest of the message was talking about the choices that we make, right? When we are choosing escapism over tough decisions, we are devaluing our strength.
Mm-hmm.
When we are choosing work over our family, we are showing that their insignificance, even though they're not, right? They're showing an order of importance. And this can be the same thing with boundaries, right? It is really important that we align our actions with what we value.
Yes. And this is big too, because Venus is also going to be in Aries this coming season. And Venus is all about relationships and love and values and how that tracks. So I think that's really good.
Is she retrograding, right?
She is. And then she goes into Pisces, but she will be in Aries. And the other thing that's happening too in this coming Aries season is our first solar eclipse.
Boom, boom.
Yeah. And that energy is just amplified, right? Like anytime you have an eclipse, it's magnified, like the energy's magnified. And solar eclipse, the sun specifically, has to do with self-identification and figuring out, what did I write here? Self-exploration, since the sun represents identity and self-image. And I was reading an article a little bit on how you can think about solar eclipse energy, and it's kind of similar to a torrential downpour or a windstorm, where you need to let Mother Nature do her thing, but you can be prepared to survive through it. You know how to get through it. But while it's in the middle of, just be calm and remain grounded. And then once everything settles and the rain, the torrential downpour has stopped or the windstorm has come to an end, that's when you can move forward.
So basically keep your arms and legs inside the ride at all times.
At all time, yeah.
Got it.
Mother Nature don't mess around.
Well, and even if you can't see the eclipse from where you live, the energy still happens.
For sure.
So, we're not going to see, in North America, we're not going to see this solar eclipse, I believe. I don't think there's any parts of it that hit North America.
But it's still happening on Earth.
It's still happening.
Like it's still happening towards Earth. So
it's not happening on Earth. But
it's not happening on Earth. Ooh, okay. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
The sun is not on the Earth, you guys.
It is not.
I know that Rachael wants you to think that the moon is a planet and that solar eclipses
happen on the Earth. They do not. Did you know, though, I think it's 2027, maybe there's a 1 in 83 chance that Earth might get hit by a pretty large asteroid?
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, except if you're in the city that it hits.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to affect the whole world. So it doesn't, I would imagine if an asteroid large enough to make it through our atmosphere hits a city, there's going to be large implications all over the place.
I would agree.
But there is going to be an eclipse that happens. Is it 26, 8, 7?
I don't know. After 2024, I'm good on eclipses for a minute.
I loved that eclipse so much. But there is one that's going to be over Iceland, Spain, Portugal, and I intend to be there.
Where? You just named
somewhere in Europe.
I was going to say, you just named three different countries.
Sitting in Chris Corsini's living room.
Lisbon. Oh my God.
I know. It's on my list.
Okay.
High up there.
We should get him on the podcast.
100%.
He would be so fun. I think that might be a 6-part series.
Yeah, and we're going to have to go there.
Stop talking?
Go there to record at the Wheelhouse.
Ah! Tell me.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what your forecast is for the Aries season.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Are you going to tell us yours as well?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, lay it on me.
All right. The sun moved through your 10th house of career most recently, nudging you to get even more in tune with your sense of authority and perhaps to take the reins on a big picture project. Photography reference? Maybe. Now, since the sun is in your 11th house of networking during Aries season, it's time to channel any confidence you earned and put it towards a team endeavor with colleagues or friends.
This is screaming podcast to me, not photography.
I know, but it said big picture project.
I know.
Okay. This zone is also one that deals with long-term wishes. So focus on a desire that you've been holding close to your heart and could begin to move toward feeling more gratified.
That's exciting.
So I wrote down both Libra and Scorpio
Okay.
for me, but I tend to lean more towards Scorpio. So I'm going to read them backwards. I'm going to do Scorpio first.
Okay.
Aries season activates your 6th house of routine and wellness, making the perfect moment to reflect on your hustle and think about how you might be able to feel more balanced in life. Sure, you'll find this season is a good time to knock off some of your healthy to-dos, like scheduling doctor's appointments, but it's also a blank canvas for a new fitness regime or mindfulness practice. Basically, you'll be feeling more self-assured about your ability to build a day-to-day routine of your dreams, and you can make bold moves that reflect your confidence, which tracks. Like, I've definitely been feeling that vibe. I wanted to get back into the gym. I'd reached out to a few people that own gyms in my area, and then January just fucking blew up. So I didn't actually execute anything there. But the intentions were started there. So I have a feeling this makes a lot of sense to execute in Aries season. And then Libra says building relationships with people is a skill for you because your sign is associated with the 7th house of partnership. Fortunately for you, during Aries season, that zone is exactly where the sun resides, making this time of year feel like you're very much in your element. You'll find you can build momentum on goals you share with a dear friend, loved one, significant other, or business partner, and you'll also meditate or negotiate your differences more easily. 2, because the 7th house of partnership sits across from the 1st house of self, you'll have a chance to explore how your relationships are supporting your ability to know and show up for yourself.
I love that.
Yeah, both of those are really nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Aries. All right, so let's rap-a-doo.
Rap-a-doozles it up.
Rap-a-doozles.
It's time for fresh starts, guys. So we're here supporting that for you. If you have something that you want to put intentions out into the universe, send us an email. Tell us about it. We'll lift you up and help support your intentions. We can manifest together as a community.
Yeah, I like that word fresh. Fresh.
So fresh and so clean.
Ooh. So get out there and go. And then pause. And then go. It's like you should have the couch to 5K where you run and then you walk. And then you run and then you walk. And that's how you like build up your endurance so you can run a 5K. So it's kind of like that in Aries season. Like get something going and then walk and think about what you did and reflect and then go again and then walk and then reflect and then, fresh.
And watch out. Listen, it's passion, it's drive, but Aries also has some anger issues.
That's
can
like
come along, right? So just being aware of yourself, being present in the moment, and not getting too far ahead of yourself.
Yeah, and anytime anger presents itself, that's a fucking sign for reflection. Like, embrace that feeling, but anytime I get angry, I'm like, ooh, I got to step back.
Well, it's that impulsive, like, act first, think later energy.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, and that can have some implications. I mean, just grow with yourself, right? Like, if you're in your 20s, you're probably in the impulse track where you're like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to whatever. But in your 30s and 40s, you tend to do less of that, or it's more calculated.
I feel like people in their 20s now aren't like people in like when we were in our 20s.
I mean,
I feel like there's like less rebellion. Like they know themselves earlier than we knew ourselves.
I would agree with that.
But also, it's Aries season. Aries are lovers. Go have some fucking sex.
Okay. Throwing that out there too.
I'm just saying, it's a good time for, the 11s.
Well, because Mars is the ruler of sex.
I thought you were going to tell me something about Mars. You made a gesture like something grand was.
Well, it's like I was holding Mars in my hand.
Are those testicles or is that Mars?
Testicles would be more like cupping. This was like...
It depends on the gentleman.
Ew, no. No balls have I ever held that this is how my hand was placed. So if your balls fit in the palm of my hand like this, with my fingers spread...
It's like she's palming a basketball,
you are
guys.
not the man for me.
What? Oh my God.
I don't want to have anything to do with your balls. And on that note...
Unless they're tiny. They're
Fresh
tiny.
goodbye.
Apparently she likes little balls.
No, I don't. Like, yeah. I mean, if I had to pick, I would definitely pick small balls. Right? Are you telling me you would not? Do you like mammoth size?
Mammoth? I don't know about mammoth.
If this is the size of the ball sack, then this is a mammoth size.
I prefer majestic size.
What a dumb answer. Okay, fine. Yeah. We're ending it on this note.
Love you guys. Thanks for being with us today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
See you later.
All right. Ciao. Bye.
Bye-bye.